Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRY. AFRY is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm a little bit nervous, as I said, but otherwise I'm good.
No, you don't need to be nervous.
Oh, it's very fun to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
I think, when did you texted me on Instagram, was it right?
Yeah, I think you texted me first, like way back.
Yes, yeah, it was when I saw the the profile about your research project.
Yeah.
And then I wrote to you, and then you replied back.
Yeah, and then, I did the whole thesis, and it's stressful in the end. And then when I was done, I felt that I wanted to continue, so I reached out and I said, I think this could be an interesting topic for people to hear about.
Of course.
So then we decided to do this.
Yeah, because now I think I recorded 240 episode, but we never talked about your topic.
Look at that.
Awesome.
There's a first time for everything.
Exactly. No, I'm really happy that you're here. So let's start with you. You're our storyteller, and the listeners are interested to hear more about you. How would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about your passion?
I would introduce myself as an urban planner and geographer, because that's what I studied before. I'm from Huddinge originally. It's south of Stockholm, so very close to Stockholm city, but I've always loved Stockholm my whole life. And first I studied my bachelor's in geography, and I didn't know what I wanted to study before. When I was in gymnasiet, I had like a really good teacher in geography when I studied that, and he was very like, oh, what would you like to do? He saw that I was interested in how everything in the world connected. So when I was supposed to apply for university, I just wrote geography in the search bar.
Wow, really?
Yes, that was the decision made. So then I just studied my whole bachelor's in geography.
Cool.
And within that, there is urban planning. So then I discovered that, and that I could actually apply what I knew to something tangible. And I wanted to continue to do that. So then I applied for my master's in sustainable urban planning and design. And then I just knew that I found the right thing for me.
That's awesome. That's really...
Yeah, it's a weird decision. It was very last minute. I sat and
the master or the geography?
The
bachelor.
bachelor's, yeah. I wasn't
imagine.
even gonna study. I wasn't even gonna study right away.
Okay.
I wanted to work and chill for a while, and then here I am 5 years later.
But that's so interesting, like the impact that the teacher had on you. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if he knows that. So if he hears this, he did really have an impact on me.
Maybe you go back to the school and say hello to him and say, look what you did.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's there anymore, because he was only a substitute teacher, but he was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you explore more about like urban planning during your bachelor, and then you decide to go for it in master.
Exactly. We had a lot of like courses that we could choose from. So half of it was mandatory, and then half you could choose from. So it was very open as well. And then I chose planning courses. One was called Challenges of Planning in the South, with the focus on Africa. And then I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. I want to actually make something, build something, make that type of impact from what I understand about the world and everything. So then I just chose everything that had the word planning in it. And looking back, that was probably what I should have studied the whole time, but I'm still very happy that I had that background as well.
Interesting journey. So if you tell us what are you passionate about?
I would say I'm passionate about everything urban planning. Social sustainability, I'm very interested in, and I think that you can achieve equality through urban planning. So that's what I'm really passionate about. And I'm passionate about cities, their complexity, and how we like make the whole difference in the cities. That's where we need to make the differences to make the whole world sustainable,
Exactly.
basically. So everything with cities and making a change with small things, but it's not really small things. It makes a difference.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And in this episode, we're going to talk about your master degree. But I know that you got a job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So maybe you tell us a little bit about your job, and then we go back to your master degree, which is this topic about.
Yes, sure. So right now I work as a traffic engineer at Nacka Municipality, and I work mainly with requests about public space. If you want to have an event, if you want to have a movie shoot, or build a whole new house on public land, I get that application through the police because they organize everything according to the law, and I oversee that, talk to the people that I need to. If it's in a park, I need to talk to another unit, but I make our answer to them saying, yes, this is okay under these circumstances, these demands, and this is how much it costs, etc.
Okay.
So it's very mixed as well. Like I work with traffic and I'm very passionate about transport planning as well.
Yeah.
But this is also very broad and I like that.
Yeah, it's I think there's always some point with everything you do.
Mm.
So I think this is very interesting because you get like how to say application of different things like a festival or a movie shoot. You told me.
Yeah, it's so diverse. I didn't think it was going to be that because we weren't exactly sure what I was going to do. I was hired as a traffic engineer and like some staff was on sick leave and stuff like that. So I wasn't sure what I would do. But now this is what I'm doing. And I was unsure in the beginning, but now I'm like, yeah, this is actually
this
really
is what
fun. Let me keep these assignments.
So like if let's say if I want to do a podcast on a public space, right? And I put my podcast studio and so on, I do the application, send it to the police department.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you send it there and they look at it first. They ask you they want to know how like big your table is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they might ask for things and then they send it to us, the municipality that it's in, and we might also ask some questions like, oh, how many people? Have you thought about Corona, if that's applicable, and those types of things, like how many people are going to be there, everything in like a safety perspective. But of course, we also want things, so we are very happy with all the applications and the companies that want to be in our municipality.
Because you want to create life in the public spaces, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we recently also won, I don't know what the prize is called in English, but we won like the best municipality for companies this year.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, that's very fun.
Yeah.
So we hope that more companies want to develop and in Nacka.
Yeah, we say like stars attract stars, people attract people, companies attract companies, I think also.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you what do you call it? Disapprove applications? It happens a lot or no?
It doesn't happen a lot. It is
because you're kind.
We are. My boss always say that we need to be like Bamse. It's a teddy bear on television, like a kids show. We need to be very strong and very set on certain things, but we also need to be kind because we have that power. We say yes. We only say no if it's something that is a security threat of some kind, or like sometimes people want containers on the streets if they want to redo a facade on the house, and sometimes it's too narrow for like a fire engine to come through. So that would be a time where we would say, no, this actually doesn't work. We need to find another solution. We could recommend this place, or we could recommend this place for you to put it, but only if it doesn't work at all.
Yeah. What is the weirdest application that you got?
Oh, I don't.
Then you'll be like, what is this?
We get a lot of different things. Oh, well, the weirdest thing was we actually got, it was just when I started doing this, and someone wrote and he said like, oh, hello, it's time to deliver the tower now. And I was like, oh, what? Hello? Okay, what? So he sent, because obviously someone worked with this before me and she knew everything. But I was like, okay, a tower is coming. When? how big is this? And it turned out it was like 100 meters, like telecom tower that was supposed to be transported with a helicopter.
Really?
Yeah. And I did not know where to start there. That was hilarious.
What did you start crying?
I did. I was like, okay. Just ignore the message.
Yeah. Spam. Mark it as spam.
So that was probably the most like, okay, I have no idea what this is.
I quit this job.
Yeah.
And what is the coolest thing that you were like super happy approved it?
I'm super happy when I approve stuff that is like community days, like Fisksätra celebrated 50 years not long like this year, and I approved like that event, the part which was on our land. And if there is ideal like or non-profit organizations doing things not for profit, then they don't have to pay for the land either. So enabling that and being set but kind in that way, that's nice. But of course, it's also cool to know what movies are being shot in Nacka as well. So, and knowing what happens in the movies, because they have to write a little bit about what happens in the scenes and stuff. So I know some stuff.
That's really cool. Spoiler alert. Huh?
Spoiler alert. I won't tell you any more than that.
But tell me, like, you work in the Nacka Municipality. Is it the same rules as the Stockholm Municipality or no? Because like you're neighbors, right?
Yeah, we are. We look a lot to Stockholm in different things. Like, for example, the e-scooters now, like Stockholm has taken a more hard approach on them now. So we're looking at them and following and seeing if they might need a permission from us in the future, because that's going to be how it is in their municipality now. So, but we do it kind of similar. I mean, we have different payments and different things like that, but I mean, it's mostly similar. Everything has to go through the police either way, and then they send it out. But sometimes we get, sometimes the police sends it out to the wrong municipality as well. So sometimes we can get stuff from Tyresö municipality or Stockholm municipality, and you're like, no, this is not us.
Okay.
I'm sending this back. But yeah, we definitely try to keep an eye on what the other municipalities do.
Yeah. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. We were also doing like a study visit about the outdoor service places, like where you sit and drink or have food, like which have been expanding a lot in recent years. So we're looking at how they are doing it, because I mean, Nacka is growing so much now with the new subway, and we're going to have Nacka Stad. There's going to be these things as well, and we need to look how they do the permission and applications.
Like learn from others as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we walked around the other day around Slussen and Mariatorget and Swedenborgsgatan to look at how that worked. And so it's fun to get to, of course, visit other places as well.
And I'm very happy to hear that you're happy with your work. It's very important what you do also to our cities to make them more livable. But back to your master degree, which has like not so much to do with what you do now. Tell the listeners, what is the background that you chose this topic?
The background is that we had a course called Contemporary Urban Theory, and we were supposed to choose a book to read, and from that we were supposed to write a short essay. So I wanted to choose a narrow topic, funny looking back, because this wasn't narrow. And then I read Feminist City by Leslie Kern, and all the ways cities haven't been planned with some people in mind. So she had a short section about toilets, and then I was like, oh, well, this is kind of a small subject, kind of narrow.
Very niched.
Very niched, definitely. So I wrote my small essay on that, and then I talked to the course responsible for that one, and I said that I kind of want to do my thesis on this, and he was like, okay, I think you should. And I already had like quite a planned other thesis that I was going to do, and I just threw it all out to do public toilets instead.
But why you got so interested in that, like in that topic?
I don't know. I mean, as urban planners, we think about the city when we're out. We see it, we take it in, we analyze it. But here I found a thing that I saw that was new, that I'd never thought about in the perspective of urban planning. And I was like, I thought I had thought about everything.
But not public
But
toilets.
not this in this
Okay.
perspective. So I wanted to have something exciting that I didn't have any answers to. I mean, we all needed something exciting during those times when we were just at home. So
Yeah.
I just decided to learn as much as I could about public toilets.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you do something like, because like even now reflecting about the podcast, I never, okay, we mentioned sometimes about public toilets and so on, but not so much focused on.
No.
So it's amazing that you chose this object in the city to talk about.
Yeah.
And like, well, how did you start? What was the research question? How did you formulate it?
I mean, it was such a non-research topic. Like me and my supervisor who had choose, we saw that there was like a big research gap, especially in Sweden. Like public toilets is more of a conversation in, for example, the US or the UK. It's more amplified, but in Sweden, it's not even really talked about. So my research questions were very broad. Like I wanted to see what the role of the public toilet was in urban space and what it had been before, and if it's different depending on what context it was developed in. So I wanted to see what the role was both for the developer and the user, and then I wanted to explore what people's experiences of and notions were about the public toilets. Like what do people actually think, and then also the developer and the user. Like, is it different? Do they see the public toilet in a different way, and are there clashes in between that? And then the last one was like, how can we change these notions and like the preconceived notions that people have about public toilets? How can we at least start to change those notions? But like I knew nothing as well, so it was very explorative in that way. But yeah,
I can imagine, because now when I am listening to you, it's so interesting also to listen to the way you tell the questions. So you explore, or you wanted to explore the role of public toilet through the history in Stockholm and the future of it.
Yeah, exactly.
How far back?
I looked quite far back because I found a book which
Like medieval?
a little bit. I looked a little bit to that. Like the first public toilets came in like I don't remember exactly, but the 18th century.
Wow.
So then there was 3 public toilets, like one in Gamla stan, one around Slussen, and one at this square close to Max in Kungsträdgården. What is that square called?
I don't remember actually, to be honest.
But they had 3 public toilets in different areas, and it's we still have like public toilets very close to those original locations.
Okay, that's
so
cool.
I saw that all the way from there we have those, and then talking about like solitary urinal booths, they have also been here quite long, because in the beginning peeing was apparently only something men did. So then there was a lot of old urinal booths that we still have in the city as well.
May I ask you, Olivia, now when you, because what you read, it was about, what was the book you read? And
it was called Feminist City.
Yes. Is your research also with focus on the feminist point of view?
Yeah.
Or in general, public toilet for everybody?
I mean, it is public toilets for everybody, but I think we need to visualize the inequalities that we have and the spatial patterns, and who is the public toilet built for.
Exactly.
And I mean, I have my perception, but there's so many other standpoints that should come in. But from what we've seen, we haven't planned cities for women at large.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, we see recent development, and we see that it's coming. It's coming, but we still have these historical structures that are still here, and that affects how we can be in the city today.
Of course, yeah. So tell us, you started to look back on the history. Tell us more about like how the development of public toilets.
Well, we didn't have many public toilets for a while, and we actually had them in like these big commercial pillars. They are still in the city today, but they were toilets, and then they weren't handicap accessible. They were very small, just one single toilet booth. But then we had other models that came in like the 1980s. So we have those, but in recent years we have gotten a very modern public toilet that is handicapped accessible and it's free for all. So we've seen a very democratic development, and you have free toilets and they're accessible for way more people, and now there is way more public toilets in general. So there has been that development, and what's interesting is that the actors also saw that the public toilet went from being placed on like a side street in an alleyway, like very dark, to being placed on central squares such as Odenplan, and that development has been so recent, and no one knows why, but
it's a big change from that you're hiding it
yeah,
behind the building on trees or somewhere like in the end of a public square until you really put it in the front so people see it as a kind of icon of power or democracy.
Yeah, it became from being a public toilet to being it became more public.
Yeah,
it was very much more visible, and they wanted it to be visible. It's not an awkward thing that we should hide. It's something that should be very much a part of the.
Which is really great.
Yeah,
and I think it's happened very fast. I mean, you mentioned like from 80s until now, we got like the new modern toilets. Like a very fast change in a few years. According to urban planning,
yeah,
things
definitely.
takes like ages to change.
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah,
but now it actually happened. So I mean, I didn't know that, but apparently I was right on time with this very interesting development.
Yeah. So the modern or the new toilet, what are the different functions? If you describe it to the listener that not being in Stockholm.
Yeah, of course. So they are bigger than previous models, so that they are handicap accessible. They are way more technical. Like you can see if the water is functioning, and you can see if the door is open or if something is broken inside the toilet. But it's bigger, and I just think, I don't know, it's just different. It's more accessible, and it is aimed towards being more accessible for more people. It has changing tables, some of them as well, and that the old model doesn't have. So there are new functions for new people. And I mean, we see recent development now, like when I wrote my thesis, when I interviewed the actors, like I couldn't say everything in my thesis, but there is a new family toilet model that has come to Helsingborg just now. So now it's actually out, and it's really fun. A toilet that is actually aimed towards children and families.
So cool.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
And there's just new things all the time. But
that's a good development. So tell me, you started like during your thesis, you did the research like about the history and the development. Then you started to interview actors. And are they like municipalities or who?
I interviewed like representatives for the larger companies that provide public toilets, like representatives from those, but also representatives from Stockholm stad that might have been a part of like the development of getting them there. Like it's a little bit what I do now, like the application process and how it's going to fit in the city. Like, can we have it here? We don't have plumbing here. But then I also talked to other like non-profit interest organizations and people who just knew about public toilets or had researched them before in some way.
Who decide about how many public toilets, where they will be located?
It was actually, well, it was a procurement that was sent out, and the city basically said, we can offer you this many public commercial spaces. So it was a trade between commercial spaces and public toilets. So they said, we have this many areas where you can have your commercial. How many toilets can we get for that? And so then a company responded and said, oh, you can get 66 public toilets from us for this many advertisement spaces.
Okay, so it was the municipality who started to ask that we need toilets here.
Yeah, it was an initiative from that political majority at that time that said that we need, and they had a project called Toilet for All.
Okay.
So then that procurement came and they reached out to companies and said, yeah, this is what we can give you. What can you give us?
Yeah.
So that's
what's the deal?
Yeah, what's the deal?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's really interesting. That was one of the things I had no idea about, because it could have been paid by taxes or it could have been paid, I don't know, but this was like a trade, a win-win is how they describe it.
Cool. Yeah. So tell me more, like what did you get from interviews with actors?
I got
What did you ask? What, like in general?
no. I asked several things. I was surprised by a lot of things, like how they even got them or how this development has been. But I asked them what the role was of the public toilet, like what their view was on it, and they viewed it as the public toilet really is for all, and the role of it is to make the city more accessible to be in for a longer period of time, and that is more important for some people than others. So they had a very democratic view on it, but of course there are also issues with public toilets. So we talked about that as well, and what their view was on it, like when they are responsible for it.
What are the issues?
I mean, there can be several issues, but for example, sometimes people sleep in the toilets. Yeah, because I mean, some people are homeless and they don't have anywhere to go, and this structure becomes a place where they can be safe for a while. So that is, I don't want to say it's a problem, but that was one thing that they mentioned.
Like from their perspective.
Yeah, that can be difficult to manage sometimes. So we talked about those things and how they manage that, and they have several technological functions to see if someone is in there and might be in need of help, because maybe someone could collapse in there. So there is time limits and stuff, and people go and check on the toilets regularly and stuff like that. But it was really I was very surprised with their like they were still very hopeful, and they thought this was such an important thing, even though that there are potential issues with it. But it's still like
what are the other issues that they mentioned? Remember?
It can be that some people aim to destroy the public toilet sometimes. Okay. So they work a lot with like resistant materials, and you can't have real mirrors because they
easy to break them.
It's easy to break them. So they have worked a lot with that. A public toilet cannot be like a regular toilet because it's a completely different environment. So we talked a lot about that. It's not a toilet that you have in the office. Like it's very, very different. So they talked a lot about how they developed that, but they also talked about how the police maybe sometimes didn't like that the public toilets were free because they could see signs of drug trade and stuff like that.
Inside the toilet?
Yeah.
Wow.
So there are discussions about that as well. And I mean, it's all valid, but so there are way more things that you don't think about.
That's true.
There either. Yeah.
Wow, so interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to take that turn at all.
Yeah.
So, but I mean.
Because now when you start to say about issues, I was thinking that you're going to mention like to maintain it, to clean it, like the standard things. But now you come up with very completely different stuff.
Yeah, but that's also a big part. They all have maintenance at least once a day. Sometimes in the summers, they have more maintenance on toilets that they see are more frequently visited, because that they can see as well, like how many people visit the toilets each day. So there is statistics on that as well. But those issues are also there. Yeah.
Did you talk about like how they design, if they design for everybody or they follow like a standard measures, because now we talk about toilet for everybody. And this is actually the point when you started from your thesis, is that public toilets should be for everyone.
No, but they came up with several designs and they sent them to Stockholm Stad and came with design suggestions. So it was very free like that. Like Stockholm Stad basically had certain demands on functions, and this is how big it has to be according to the laws that we have. So it was very much based in the law, but the actual design was free for them to present, and then Stockholm Stad could, determine what fits. So we have a few different designs, and the original idea was for it to respond to the environment that it was placed in. So in parks, we have more green public toilets, and in cities, we have more gray public toilets. And
the facade.
Yeah, exactly, the facade. Inside, they all look pretty much the same.
Okay.
But we have some different facades to fit the environment.
Yeah, but are they accessible for everybody?
That depends on how you define it.
Let's say like now if they are for free, they are like
Mm.
for a parent with a child. What do you call it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they are.
Or for the wheelchair.
Yeah, they are the big. Some of them have more toilets, but the most common is just one big room, and that one is 12 square meters, so it's quite big.
Like
so
almost bigger than my flat.
Yeah. Yeah, you could definitely live there. But no, so it is big, so I would say it's accessible.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so many other factors if people are gonna use them or not, if they feel safe, if they know where they are, because I didn't know where these public toilets were. I didn't know how they functioned. So, but when you use it, it's definitely accessible.
Yeah. And are these like public toilets with open door, or you need to put a code or something?
You press on a button that
Yeah.
opens the door, and it closes automatically on these new versions.
Yeah.
On the old ones, they have card readers sometimes, or coin machines even.
You need to pay.
Yeah, exactly. At least on the toilet. The urinal is free, which is also a question of equality.
Exactly. It's fun. It's fun because I remember some of public toilets in different cities, not in Stockholm actually, in Europe. People hold the door so the other people can enter for free.
Yeah. There is solidarity. I've also been through that because I visited all the public toilets because I needed to see what actually.
You did that?
I did. I visited
really
all of the public toilets.
How many?
When I did my study, there was 96 public toilets. Sometimes they also had a urinal, and then there's 27 like single urinal booths around the city. So I think like 123 sites.
You're
in total.
kidding. You visited all of them?
I did.
Oh my goodness.
I was just gonna visit some of them in the beginning, but then I was like, oh, I visited half, so I might just continue.
So you have the record now.
I have the exact records of where everything is, so that I could check that the information online was actually accurate. And I found some differences.
Okay.
So
because all of them are on the map online.
Yeah, all of them are. I mean, there's different maps, but I found that no map was like comprehensive, and they don't include like the solitary urinal booths. They only have the places where they have toilets, and I mean, but maybe
is the map from municipality, or is on Google you can find it? What do you write on Google?
You can find it a little bit on Google, but not all toilets are there.
Okay.
Stockholm Stad has a map of it, but it changes sometimes. And then these separate companies also have their own maps, so it's like there's no. I found hard to find the information about.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go and see if they were there.
Okay.
Myself.
So how many errors did you find?
I found one that wasn't there, and it has moved now from Stigbergsparken, I think, to Årsta instead. So when I was out like a few weeks ago only, I didn't know this. I was like, I haven't seen this public toilet. Have I missed this? And then I went in on the website, and they were like, oh, we moved this toilet to this site. And I was like, I didn't miss it. So some things happen.
Yeah.
But then I actually found information about it, so that was really good.
That's cool. Also, I think that's how you have the Instagram account, right?
Yes.
You're making picture of toilet you visited.
Exactly. I used that as my like project diary in the beginning. It wasn't supposed to be more than that, but I wanted to make one post for each toilet, so I just had all of them. But now it has become more than that, and like people started following.
Yeah,
and
I started following.
Yeah. And then people were like, oh, I've never, like when I talk to people in my class, they're like, oh, I never thought about this.
Yeah.
But what I realized is that everyone had a story to tell.
Of course.
Everyone had something they told me about when they had a picnic in that park and they couldn't go to the toilet, or, oh, I've seen this before and I've never thought about it. Like everyone had something to say.
Exactly. It's so interesting.
So it was a really engaging subject, and I didn't think that.
Yeah, that's awesome, because now you remind me, in the beginning of this episode, we talked about Instagram.
Yeah.
Because also I was like looking around different Instagram accounts, and I find yours, and I'd be like, what is this? Really? There's some person doing this?
Yeah, but there is actually a lot of toilet accounts on Instagram. You would be surprised. And people focus on different things. Some people focus on the tiles in the bathrooms.
Okay.
Some only focus on urinals. Some only focus on toilets in restaurants.
Really?
There's so many accounts that focus on toilets.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
this is just the latest.
Yeah.
Public toilets just in Stockholm, but there's so many accounts.
Wow.
So, and I didn't think that.
Maybe there are also podcasts about.
Yeah, I mean
Maybe.
there is. There is. Because actually, when I had read that book, I searched for, the 99% podcast.
Yeah, Invisible.
Exactly. I was like, they have to have a podcast about, or an episode about
Yeah.
toilets, because they have one about everything.
Yeah.
And of course they did. And when I listened to that and looked at it, it was actually released on my birthday.
Oh.
So
It's meant to be that
I just felt that it was meant to be. But there is a whole podcast about toilets as well they go to, but that's like in restaurants, and it's a guy and a girl, and they try the men's room and they try the women's room and see the differences and stuff like that.
Wow,
so
this is so interesting.
It's a whole new world.
Yeah, actually it is. Yeah, before we go and talk about like what the user said, you remind me about the restaurant. My dad used to say that if you know if the restaurant is clean and good, you need to take a look on the bathroom and toilet. If the toilet is clean, then the restaurant is good and clean.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. Like it's always now for me, every time I go to the restaurant, I check the bathroom first or the toilet.
No, that sounds valid. I think your dad has a good point.
I think there is a point behind it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So maybe this is something you should think about it as.
Yeah, I might. I mean, now my definition was only like out in public spaces.
Exactly. Now you're in.
But maybe, yeah. I mean, there's so many interesting,
of course,
examples there as well.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so you talked to the actors and you gather information and data. Then you went to the users.
Yes.
Was it like interviews with the public, or you already have some names to talk with?
I mean, this was the most difficult part. My initial goal was to get the user perspective, talk to people, but Corona made that very difficult. Like I tried to reach out to interest organizations and thought that I could go there and have group interviews or something, but they just said, we don't have any activities right now. So that part, I mean, if I would redo it, I would do way more like talking to people, but I did an online survey instead. And also when I started to research this, I realized that I thought people knew more than they did. Like the baseline of public toilet wasn't even there.
Really?
So
what are the baselines?
just like how many there are, how they function, how they look. Like people didn't know that. So how could I ask them what they wanted when they didn't even know what existed? Like I needed to see what the baseline was. So I had more basic questions like, how many is there? How often do you use them? Like just those basic questions. And I found a lot of different experiences and discrepancies in what people thought. So it was, but if I would redo it, I would do way more with actual people. But I've gotten some opportunities after the thesis and when COVID has settled down a little bit to talk more to people, and that has been amazing. But
tell me, what did they say?
So when I did it, I participated in a fall fair with Fluke, which is like a participatory collective about co-creating spaces, and they had a fall fair in a public space, and they asked if I wanted to be there because they noticed that there wasn't a public toilet.
Okay.
So I was there, and I had a public toilet confession booth where you could go in and like scribble on the walls, like imagine a toilet in a bar, like where people have written on the walls. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
But just like what they thought about it, confessions. But then I just presented some of the maps from my thesis and stuff and just had conversations with people. And they were also a bit like, oh, I've never really thought about it. When I need to go to the toilet, I just go home. Like and I could see that they started to reflect on it. Like, why do I just go home when I need to go to the toilet? That's
what do they say about like the existing toilet before we go about what they dream of, or what do they say? Do they like?
I think when I asked that in the survey, I think I had a question about like how do you think they look on the outside versus the inside? And more people liked how they looked on the outside, actually.
Okay.
So they actually thought they were pretty nice to look at. And it was also different because I asked if they wanted them to be more explorative with like more colors. Some people really wanted that, and some people wanted to be more anonymous and have a gray toilet, a gray box. So that was different as well, what they thought about them, which was also it just shows that there's no one size fits all solution. Like everyone is different, everyone has different needs. So there is no perfect solution for everyone.
And what do they say about the inside?
Some people thought it was scary because, as I said, it is different than a normal toilet, and that feels new to them, and then that might feel scary. I mean, and I hadn't been in one of these public toilets before, and when I started my visits, I was also like, oh, okay, I don't know how the soap and the water works. I don't know, will the door lock behind me? Like some people were worried about the automatic lock and stuff like that, and they were like, how do I flush? How do I like? So some people felt that it was scary, but some people were, I think it's just a normalization process.
Yeah.
If you're new to it, then it's like, oh, I don't know how it works, but that's why I do it as well, to teach people how they do, because I didn't know in the beginning either.
That's so interesting because I think like there are instructions, no? But but still people feel like they're not clear enough.
Yeah, there are instructions, and I mean, there's trial and error with every new development. So they realize that they maybe need to put more instructions on them.
Yeah.
So on some, they have like very clear instructions, like, oh, you press on this and it's the user time is 20 minutes. And very, very clear. But some have less information. Just so it's a little bit different.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah. So people commented more about like the experience that some functions might be unclear and they are scared and so on. But they didn't comment about same stuff that the actor says, like about if it's clean or not, if it's like there are people inside or...
They did actually do that. Sometimes they wrote, I'm worried that someone is inside. I'm worried that it's not clean. I'm worried that it smells bad. So they did share some of the concerns for sure. So there aren't only like different opinions. There are definitely opinions that relate to one another there. So yeah.
That's cool. And what did they say about like, okay, the future of public toilets? If when you ask them what do you wish or what?
Well, it was different. As I said, it was hard to
of course
to ask,
to people like
they wanted them to be more like they wanted more in
more
numbers.
toilets.
Yeah, and know where they are, and they wanted them to be free as well. Like that was also very consensus about from the users. But it was also different. Like some people thought it should cost money because then they kind of rationalized that it would be cleaner because less people would use it somehow. So it was different there as well. But they wanted more exploration, I think, at least, because I showed them some pictures, like reference projects of public toilets that have a lot of colors and stuff, and they reacted at least positively to that. So I just think we need more exploration, and it doesn't have to be like permanent. It can be temporary. Like you can put up a thing on the wall and just let people draw on it, and maybe that would engage people to get closer to the public toilet and get to know it.
Yeah. But then someone needs to approve that idea, right?
Yeah, I know that. Then I guess both Stockholm Stad and the public toilet company would have to approve that.
But you asked or you told me that you reached out to interest organizations. Like, are these organizations interested in public toilets or no?
One was interested in like safety in society, and one is more like sustainability and social sustainability. So they have different interests, which can relate to the public toilet. Safety is important, and equality and sustainability is important. So not necessarily just for public toilets at all, but I found some work that was related to public toilets, or at least where public toilets were mentioned. So I reached out to them and asked what their viewpoint was on it.
did they comment, like the users, did they comment about that toilet are not accessible, it's not for everybody, it's just for one group of people?
Sometimes, because sometimes they didn't know that Stockholm have these new large toilets, so they had the idea that it's not something that we use, like it's something that other people use, it's something that like older men use, and that was also something I saw in my observations, like the main group that I saw using them was older men.
Really?
Yeah, so that, I mean, it could be something in that, but they just
why you think, or why, what's the reason? What do you think?
I don't know, different reasons. I just think some people feel like this wasn't planned for me, and sometimes it wasn't. Like the old version, I observed one toilet in a suburb south of Stockholm, and I sat there and I accidentally started talking to a couple, like an older couple.
Okay.
And the man was like, "Oh, I need to go to the toilet." And then on one side there's a free urinal, and then on the other side there is a pay-to-use toilet.
Yeah.
So he went there and he didn't have to pay, he could go in. And she was like, "Oh, well, they haven't built these for us." Like, and I was like, "Oh, she feels that this is not for me."
That's sad.
Yeah, it is sad. And I didn't say that I was looking at I was saying that I was observing like the public space. But it ended with that she went into a cafe and had to pay 15 kronor to go to the toilet while her husband could go in and just do it for free.
That's so sad.
Yeah. So, but it's very different.
Yeah. No, because like when I go out with my friends or family, usually we go to a restaurant or a cafe for such different reasons. Like my own personal reason before is that I think it's not clean enough.
Yeah.
It's much more cleaner when you go to the cafe. But then it comes to consumption. You need to buy something.
Yeah.
Or you need to ask, and sometimes difficult. My mom or friends, that like female friends and so on, they always go to a restaurant instead of public toilet.
Yeah.
Then it's both the question of like the facilities, like the different functions, and also if it's clean or not.
Yeah.
But it's sad that we need to pay or to consume in order to go to a bathroom. Yeah.
Exactly. I've also done the same. Like I haven't visited these public toilets, but then I shared the same. Like you shouldn't have to pay to do one of your most basic needs.
Yeah.
Like why is that how it is, and how can we change that? Is it just because we are not used to that, or is it because it is planned for us to consume in order to go to the toilet?
I think it's planned, to be honest. Like it's not a question about if we are used or not. Like if it is planned like this, just like how cities were planned for cars, so you have no other options.
Yeah.
So it's planned, and it's also interesting stories because some restaurant they have code.
Yeah.
And in my phone, if you go to the notes, you can see public, not public toilets, like cafe, restaurant, with the code. So sometimes when I'm in Stockholm going around with friends, I say, okay, we are close to that one.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to go?
Yeah.
I have the code. It's like Wi-Fi code.
Yeah.
Gathering a database of.
I think a lot of people do that. I had that too for some places, or I just knew that I could go to the toilet at uni or something.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do this, and like there has been apps with sites of toilets around, and I had this app and I told someone and he was like, "Oh, well, do you have issues?" And I was like, "No, I mean, I just need to pee sometimes." Like he thought it was weird that I had an app
about the toilet, to find a toilet.
Exactly. And I was like, why is that weird?
Do you have an issue?
And maybe some people do, so then they need it, but it's like, well, it's just a basic human thing to do every day. It shouldn't be a weird thing. I just need to know where I can go.
Yeah, and it doesn't need that you consume and buy stuff in order to go to the toilet.
No, but I think there's solidarity there too. Like if you go into like a fast food restaurant or something, and you're like, "What's to go to the toilet?"
Exactly.
And they're like, "It's this." So I think people.
Yeah, that's true.
We stick up for each other. But why isn't the public toilet an option in our head. Like, why is
Yeah.
it? It's not even there.
And I think this is one of our missions as planners, to change this, to plan for a new scenario. So people have this option as well. And instead of going inside and feel that they are like very pressed, to ask and to go and so on. So what did you get from the dialogues with the users? Is there something else you like to mention?
I mean, not something specific. It was very personal. It just depends on what people think. But I think what I got from it is that we need to have difficult conversations. We need to actually talk to people and say, what do you want and need? And I mean, we should get what we need, but we should also get what we want. Like, both of those things are valid. Yeah. It shouldn't just like cover our most basic things. It should be something more.
Exactly.
It should be something that attracts us and something that we feel comfortable with on another level. So no, just that it was very personal and that there's a long way ahead to really understand what people want, but we need to have the difficult conversations.
Yeah. Was it easy to talk with them about this topic, or it's like it was sensitive?
It wasn't too sensitive. Like, people were very open with, sometimes they had issues, they needed to go to the toilet often. They really opened up and said, oh yeah, I need to go, and some people had their own lists, and some people just hadn't thought about it, or they just said that, oh, I just go pee in a bush or something. Yeah. Like, people were very open, so I really like that. And I mean, it is an awkward subject, but I was surprised that people was that open.
Yeah. Did you talk with adults, young people, old people? What are the range of ages?
Very different,
and genders as well.
Yeah. I mean, on that day during the fall fair, I talked to a lot of diverse people, like an old man who was around 80, a mom who had a really young child. My parents were there, so I talked. Nice. They could say what they wanted. But I guess mostly young people, but it was very mixed as well. Like, a group of young men came and they were like, oh, and at first they were a bit like, what is this? But then they were like, oh, that's actually, wow. Oh, that's actually cool. Like, I could see a light go up in their head. And yeah, so it was very mixed, but I really want to do more and hear from more people.
Yeah. That's awesome. I really love what you do. It's like, it's so good to hear that. And I would love that. There is a link for the thesis, right?
Yes, there is.
Maybe you send it to me so I put it in the description. Yeah. People read more about this.
Yeah, I have a link tree on my Instagram as well, where you can find like my thesis.
Yeah, send me the Instagram account and thesis. Huh? Maybe your email in case people want to.
Yeah, I mean, I want all the input. I love when people send me pictures of public toilets, and people send me articles about public toilets. So people really, by having this Instagram, I really just got so much information.
Oh, you're the girl with public toilets.
I am the toilet girl. That is. And
That's so funny.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but if I can spread information, I guess it's good.
It's good if you spread good information, and I think you do.
That's good.
No, but it's also like I'm thinking about the repetition, toilet girl,
Yeah.
We also need to change this.
Yeah, we need to make it hip. Like, I posted one picture of a urinal, and I took it from the train because I saw it, and it was very much like spotted, like XOXO Gossip Girl, but I did XOXO Toilet Girl instead. So I tried to make it cool that way. But it was so now I post everything with like, oh, spotted, like this celebrity toilet. This is like, and telling what kind of outfit the toilet has. So I'm trying to like make the toilet into a personality and a person to kind of normalize it.
That's cool. So how many posts do you have now on? Do you still doing it?
I'm still posting. I'm still posting. I post mostly on like stories now because I have all the like separate toilets in my feed. But I post stories, and when I go to other cities, I post toilets from there. So I am continuing, and like, it was World Toilet Day a few days ago.
You're kidding.
I didn't even know about that. There is one. Of course there is. So I continue to update, and I will try to continue
That's
to
so
be
cool.
in events and just talk to
Yeah.
people. That's the most important.
That's very interesting. Good job, really.
Thank you. I don't know how I got here, but I'm happy.
So I'm happy to listen to your story. So back to the thesis, you did the background research about the history and development. You talked to actors, users, and what was the next step? Is that like conclusion discussion, or was it something else that you did?
Well, I used my observations and interviews and site visits to like kind of determine the role and the people's approaches. But I also did maps from my site visits to map out these typologies, like, oh, how many public toilets had a changing table? This many. And I made maps over that to like really visualize the different access of different people in the city. And like, here are all the free urinals. And I made a map of that. And here are all the free toilets. And you could see that, oh, if you live in the south of Stockholm, you don't have as much free toilets as if you live in the middle of Stockholm. Like, so it all depended on where you lived as well, what kind of access you have. And on top of that, who you are and what needs you have. So I made maps and analyzed it from this like user developer perspective. Obviously, I didn't get as much user perspective. And I mean, my thesis is done now, but I'm happy that I can get some more user perspective now. And through my Instagram as well, I want to continue with, because that's the most important part. And I didn't really get through with it during that time. Yeah.
COVID.
It's COVID, and it was sad. But I mean, my supervisor and I talked a lot about it, and she was like, well, you have to see that your analysis is also really good. Like, you can always, like, it is from your perspective, but as long as you reflect about it and see that this is my view on it and a very narrow view from other people, but this is my analysis starting point.
Yeah.
You're still doing important work.
Of course.
But I was sad that I didn't get.
Did you write that because of the pandemic?
Yeah.
Or you did?
Or
like on the thesis that you didn't had access to talk to so many people because of the pandemic?
Yeah, I think we had to have like a little section to reflect on, I mean, like a little error section or whatever. So I reflected on that I didn't get as much. Like, this was my initial idea. This is not how it went because of this and that and this and that. So it's in there, and it's not representative for people, but it's a start at least.
And what are the like conclusions from your study, if you can tell us?
I mean, it's also hard because there's so many.
I think, of course, we will read them from the link.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear about some of them.
Yeah, I think one of them is that there is no public toilet that fits everyone. There has to be different versions, and I think we need to dare to experiment more with that. And there's no answer what's right or wrong there either, but we see that for some people it doesn't work as it is now, so we need to experiment with it. And I saw that the role was different in people's minds if you were a user or a developer, like, but everyone kind of share this same notion that it is something that makes the city accessible to be in. But I think my conclusions also are that there needs to be more information, or like there is information, but it needs to reach out to people. So we need to get it out to them. And I had some ideas of like making campaigns with like making the toilets different personalities and being like, oh, I have a red outfit on. Does that suit you? If you want to find me, I am located here. To like really reach out and make people use them. Because if you get people, or some people thought the toilets were scary because there wasn't people around. If you make them visible, people will look at them, and you have more people around and maybe feel more safe. But it's all an experiment. Like, I don't have the answers. You don't have the answers. But my conclusion was that we need to experiment with it and develop solutions. But I also found that we could retrofit some things to make it more accessible to begin with. Like, we could integrate changing tables. We could have a gender neutral signage that could make a huge difference for some people and make them free. That could also make them more accessible. So there are some smaller tweaks that we could do now, but there are also big questions that we need to think about.
What are these big questions?
Just like how they should look in the future, if we should have more and where should we place them. It's where do we see the need? Are people, because they were like, oh, not much people pass here, but are they not passing or being here because there isn't a toilet? Maybe like, what is the hen and what is the egg there? Maybe they're not there because they don't have access to these things. So there are big questions. And if it should cost or not, that is also a big question. But I don't know.
Yeah, so interesting. Very, very interesting to hear and to listen to you, actually. It's like this topic is very new to me, to be honest, like to explore it.
Yeah, I'm happy, and I hope, I mean, I probably haven't remembered half of the things that I've written now, and I hope that people want to read more and can read more. And that I haven't forgotten anything. I definitely have forgotten something, but
that's fine.
That's why I have my Instagram.
That's fine. And in the Urbanistic podcast, we talk about smart city.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear from you how you define a smart city.
Yeah, I thought about this, and I think I came to the conclusion that it is a city that works for everyone, and that doesn't necessarily have to do with technology per se. I think in general, we are too reliant on technology to be the solutions for everything. I think that we, in general, have all of the solutions that we need to solve certain problems. There are other obstacles. I mean, technology is a part of the solution, but it isn't the whole solution. Like, maybe the toilet doesn't need to be super technical. Maybe it just needs to be more like easy for the user to relate to somehow. Maybe that could make more of a difference. So a smart city is a city that works for everyone and puts people first, however that goal is achieved.
Yeah.
That is a smart city.
Okay. And how do you imagine the future of public toilets? How do we make them smarter?
We can make them smarter in several ways. Technology is a big part. It is important, but I think we need to go back and look at what are the actual things we see as problems and how could we. I think we underestimate the human value in this and the human impact on things. Like, the most important thing at the end of the day, and I think the actors that I interviewed share that as well, is like that people go and clean it, maintain it, see that everything is okay. Like, that technology can't solve that. And they said that as well. Like, even if we have all of these things, you cannot solve everything with that. You need the human interaction with it. And I thought that was nice. So, but
what other aspect that we can make smarter with public toilets?
I think we can make them more fun. I mean, one of my recommendations was to kind of make the public toilet more than a public toilet. Like, you can add functions to it. Why does it only have to be a public toilet? Why can't it be a piece of art? Why can't it be a light in the dark city? Why can't it be an information board? And I think we see that development. Like, for example, in Helsingborg, like they have one toilet that is just a big mirror. And then when we talk about issues that we mentioned before, like vandalism and stuff, they have actually seen a very low level of vandalism on this toilet because
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and it adds something more to the public space than just being a toilet. It is a piece of art, and it is functional, and it is. So I think adding those types of values on it will make it smarter. And I actually saw we have some functions on toilets here as well. Like, some have bicycle pumps, and I was in a park and I observed a public toilet and I saw that some kids played with the bicycle pump. And I was like, they're getting closer to the toilet, and then they look and they're like, oh, it's a toilet. Like, they actually said that.
Cool. Oh, really?
So like something, there needs to be a buffer zone to normalize this use. And then I think people would use it more, and I think that would make it safer. But I don't know, but I just thought it was really interesting that they saw that on their more pretty and visually interesting toilets, they didn't see these issues in the same way.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Really cool.
I really want to go to Helsingborg and see this toilet.
I am from Helsingborg.
Are you?
Yeah. So there we have like very beautiful toilets.
Yeah.
And what I like there, some of the toilets has drinking water on the outside. You know, when they are located next to the playing ground, so there is like a drinking water on the outside. So children doesn't need to get inside and so on. And this bring them a bit closer to the toilet, you know, like building a relationship with the toilet. Okay, you have a drinking water on the outside, then there's the toilet, which is, I think it's a bit smarter that you introduce the toilet in a more friendly way instead of like a direct, okay, this is a toilet, this is something else. I think we need this kind of transition between the toilet and the other space or the functions around it.
Yeah, I think so too. We have one, I think, with drinking water, at least in Stockholm, but it's not, we don't have the same level of additional functions. And just comes down to what we decide that we want on public toilets. But I think those things really make a difference.
Yeah. Big difference. Do you have more aspects that we can make them smarter? I like the way you talked about the signs, you know, that instead of having like a female, male, or like the icons.
Yeah, that is also something that has, like when I talked about the historical context, that has also just been with us. Like when I talked to one of the actors, he said, "Oh, I've never really thought about it. Why do we do that?" And he also started to just reflect and like, why do we do that?
Yeah.
That was interesting. So I think, and it's just a small thing, but for some people, it could make a huge difference. Maybe they don't feel welcome because they don't identify as a man or a woman.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I mean, I haven't thought about it that much because I identify as a woman, but for someone, it makes the whole difference as well.
Yeah.
And on some of the new toilets, it just says toilette, like toilet.
Toilet, yeah.
On the, like above it. So they have some new versions for that too. So, but I guess it's just a matter of evaluating and reevaluating. But we see different things come, but like there's no man and woman inside. There is a toilet inside.
Yeah, it's like you give a function.
Yeah.
But also now I got some question. You mentioned like you did the maps and showed like which one you need to pay for and so on. Did you see there's a difference in Stockholm that, okay, in the north there are so many toilets, in the south there are no, and so on?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, most public toilets are in the central of Stockholm, which makes sense because that's where most people are out and about, working, making errands. Most of them are on Södermalm. But there are some like gaps in both the south and the north. I mean, most public toilets are also very close to subway stations or other railways. So I could see a pattern of that as well.
Okay.
That they are placed close to that. So if there's not a railway, then the risk that there's no public toilet is higher as well. So that is also a democratic difference. I definitely understand why they are placed close to public transport, and that is also democratic. But there are gaps in certain parts. So that's also very visible. And I really liked, I mean, I'm a geographer. I studied geography, so we did maps. So I really wanted to have maps in my master's thesis as well.
Wow. Cool. And now if you, like we are in the last section of this episode. And we start with this question. If you are allowed to create one rule or to add one thing to all the cities in the world, what will you add or what will you create?
The rule would be to create spaces for people, cities for people, not for profit. Like we have, humans are the core of everything. We have to value non-monetary values as much as we do monetary values. That should be equally as important in decision making, and we should put people first. That would be my rule. And to not opt out for easy solutions, because easy solutions are often not solutions to the real problem. It's a treatment of the symptom, not the actual cause of the symptom. That would be two.
Cool. Will you write this on the policy and urban planning department?
Hopefully, if I get there someday.
I think you will. So what is your favorite city?
I mean, Stockholm is my favorite city, but should I say another city?
No,
than
you,
Stockholm?
you decide.
No, I think I would say San Francisco. My mom's cousin lived there, so we were there in 2017, and it was just an amazing city.
Wow.
And they also, like, the US, for some reason, everything is just amplified. Like, it has so many amazing opportunities, but like then they have large issues with homelessness and those types of things. There's all of the issues are like way more amplified, and public toilets as well is way more like an infected question and amplified in the US. So I think San Francisco is just amazing. I mean, I love transport as well, and they just have so many opportunities for that. And I met some people that worked as architects there, and they're like, yeah, you come and solve the transport question. And I am just waiting
Wow.
for my invitation, and
That's cool.
I will try.
You will try, yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite public toilet?
I think maybe one of the red ones.
Red ones?
Yeah.
What is?
They have a red exterior designs, and I like red. But it's in a park where like kids play, and you have living places around it, and it's just a really nice place. And in that toilet I actually saw like kids and families using the toilet.
Okay.
So it was very different between the different places that I was, but I really liked that one. That was something that attracted me. So that's if I would have seen that and I didn't do this, I would probably be more interested in that type of toilet. So I think that one just because.
Where is it?
It's in Bredäng, is it? It's in a park, Trissans Park, I think it's called. Yeah, it's on my Instagram, but that was probably the nicest place. It felt very calm and very safe, and it didn't feel weird in any way to use that toilet. Yeah.
Interesting. So in the last questions, I also ask you if you want to be an animal. Which animal will you choose? I mean, like this type of question is just to show who is behind the thesis, the work. It's interesting also to talk about people. When we talk a lot about cities for people and so on.
Yeah.
And I think this is also a way to explore like people by asking them different questions, not really 100% related to urban planning.
No, but I like the question. I think it's super relevant. I think I would be a raccoon. I just think they're like cute and funny and sweet, but they can also be vicious. And I like that juxtaposition. They're just very chill. They blop around. They just eat snacks. And I think I relate to the chillness of that animal. Like all the other animals are like, oh, like I attack and I run this fast, and this is one like, oh, I just walk around and I collect garbage and eat snacks. So, and they have dark circles under their eyes. I think.
So funny.
So I think a raccoon.
That's so funny.
What would you be? Have you answered that question?
Actually, no.
Haven't you?
No, I'm saving it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saving it.
You can save it.
But that's so funny, the animal you chose. Okay, that's really cool. Nobody before you talked about that animal, so you're the first one.
Raccoons are underrated. I'm telling you.
And what are your hobbies? What do you do? Apart from like going around and making pictures of toilets.
I actually do other things, believe it or not. I like to climb and ski and hike. So I'm pretty chill and lazy most of the time, but I like to do active things as well.
Nice.
I like dog videos.
Really?
Yeah.
Like on YouTube you watch?
Yeah, I really want a dog.
Okay.
So that is... And I like cleaning videos as well.
Cleaning?
Very satisfying. I don't know, but...
you mean like... Yeah. I also watch cleaning video on TikTok. You know, they have like a very old watch or a very old, let's say, machine or a motor for car.
Yeah.
And they open it, they clean it. It's super dirty, but then they clean it. I'll be like, Wow, this is so cool.
Yeah, exactly. Those types of like compilations from TikTok, because I don't have TikTok.
Yeah.
But I mean, I watch a lot of TikTok videos on YouTube, so I guess it's not really a difference.
It's the same.
It's the same.
Yeah. Yesterday I reflected about this because there was like, I think 15 minutes video of a person take a very old watch, hand watch, and he open it and clean it and put it back in a very beautiful way. Then after, when the video was done, I'd be like, I watched this for minutes. What did I do in my life? Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can watch
Cleaning
long
video.
Yeah, but sometimes I do it while I do other stuff. Like,
Okay.
sometimes I do it while I work if I don't have to like write anything or think too much about it. If I just tap on things, then I can have it in the background, and it's just calming. And I don't know.
Very interesting.
But otherwise, just like hanging with friends, exploring the city with them, and just I like scary movies.
Okay.
I don't know, just normal stuff, I guess.
Yeah. So cool. What would you like us to call this episode?
That is the question. How do you usually name them?
Actually, like, depends on general topic, but I can think about more like formal names. I thought about like a toilet girl.
Yeah, I think.
Is it fine for you?
That's definitely fine.
Really?
I will take that. If I can make a difference, then
I think this is super catchy name.
Yeah,
People will listen to it.
They will wonder, who is this person? No, you can definitely call it Toilet Girl.
Okay, that's awesome.
I definitely approve.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really enjoyed the episode with you. I'm very happy that we talked. And as I mentioned, please send me all the links, so I will add them to the description so people can click on it and read more.
Yeah, I will.
Awesome. So, last two questions now.
Yeah.
The first one is that you give me and the listeners three takeaway messages that summarize what we talk about, summarize what you have as a knowledge.
I would say listen to people, because that is what will make the difference, and that will make something you do a success in the end. You have to listen to people. Yeah, the second one I would say is dare to experiment. Like, it doesn't have to be forever, but we need to experiment to see what works and not. And the third one would be that your needs and wants are valid. It's not something that is a burden. You should be able to get what you need, but also what you want from the city. The public space is for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. And the last question is going to be asked by you. You ask me and the listeners a question.
Yeah, I would like to ask people to reflect on their own experiences with public space and public toilets. Like, what notions do you have? What preconceived ideas do you have? What do you think about them? And do they accommodate your personal needs? And if so, and if not, what would you change about them? So reflect on that and send me a message on Instagram, and I would love to hear what your personal reflection is, because that's what matters. Yeah.
Well, great question. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to have you here, and hopefully we talk more about this topic and other topics in the future, and good luck with your very interesting work. I'm very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. You learned something new and also got inspired by the guest. Don't forget to share the episode on your social media and recommend it to people you think they are really interested in this topic. Thank you so much again for giving your valuable time to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif. Keep up the good work. Keep loving cities.